Okay, here we are on Friday morning of the Open. It's July 15th. The guys are off to a great start over there. It looks like conditions are, again, perfect for scoring.
Okay. Well, I will tell you, yesterday we spoke at length regarding Tiger and Tiger's comments. Of course, it seems that Tiger's soul has been cleansed as he is now the mouthpiece and the face, taking over for Rory as the face of the PGA Tour. Obviously, Tiger's comments inferring that the players on LIV have lost their incentive. Of course, lest we forget, Tiger got $60 million before he hit a golf shot. Didn't seem to affect him. It's interesting. Obviously, one of the things that struck me regarding money, there has not been a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup since 1993. So that money you get coming to the United States hasn't really disincentivized hockey players either, or football players.
Yeah, I think you made an interesting point in show prep about the money frees you up. It's quite the opposite than what sort of the messaging has been from Tiger, which is the money provides no incentive or disincentivizes you. But your take was no, the money does quite the opposite. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, it's golf. You need to be relaxed. You can't be thinking about a paycheck. And Tiger never had to shoot away from a pin. All Tiger ever had to worry about, because he received that huge check from Nike before he turned pro, was winning tournaments. That's all he cared about. Jack did it in a different way, where Jack prepped his schedule around the majors because he wanted to win majors. And I think the LIV Tour really frees up the guys to prep for the majors. I think it's going to rejuvenate some of the players we're going to talk about later in the show today. It's going to give them that, hey, I'd rather show up and play 8-10 times a year at my best and play in the majors than have to worry about FedEx points and show up 20-30 times at places I really don't want to go to. As we've discussed, at least the Sudan has low humidity. I don't really want to be in Memphis in August.
Yeah, really. Instead of the other places they used to be.
Exactly.
You talked about that a little bit yesterday, I think, in yesterday's episode, and I couldn't agree more. And you just made me think of something when you mentioned Jack. So this whole concept of, if you get guaranteed money, that it takes away the incentive, as Tiger said, getting paid a lot up front and you don't earn it in the dirt. Well, that's not what he did at all, which I'm sure resonated with a lot of the players who know exactly what happened with Tiger and his Nike contract that he got, right out of the box. He hadn't won a tournament, in fact, when he got that contract. But needing support, financial support, frees you up to shoot at pins, to not worry about finishing 10th versus 5th versus 1st. You can win more tournaments if you're freed up. And that support concept, it's not just financial, it's at home too. And Nicklaus, we've talked about, many times off the camera, Nicklaus had probably the greatest home front support of any great player.
Sure, absolutely.
With Barbara being the greatest golf wife in the history of Earth, he never had to worry about the kids and where they were at school or what they were doing for their sports or how they were being parented. He could just go play and prep and be ready. And he was their dad. He wasn't an absentee father at all, but he did have a schedule that, and a job that he had to travel and do all those things. But he had all the support in the world. So he didn't have the financial support that Tiger had, but he had the familial support. And it's just a different kind of support, maybe more important, but the financial support ties right into that. It's a great point that you're making there. I thought Tiger's comments were, very much from his own perspective. I think
they were Tiger comments, so they were self-serving.
Very self-serving. Great word. Very
Let's leave
self-serving.
it at that. Yeah.
I don't understand how these guys can play in a 54-hole event. That's sort of like senior tour territory, and they're not going to earn it. They're not incentivized to earn it. and you may not even get to play in a major. And that was a message to the young guys. And then for the current players like Dustin Johnson, you got all that money, now you're not going to want to play well. And I think a point that I wanted to make today, and I think we're seeing it unfold, at least so far. We're only through a round and a half at the Open. But Dustin's in at 9 under with a long way to go in the second round. But isn't that, locker room talk, firing up your opponent, which every athlete knows you don't want to do that. The night before the Super Bowl, you don't tell the other guys how terrible they are and what a joke they are as a team.
Tiger put up some billboard material, and surprising how well Sergio, what a turnaround for Sergio. Lee Westwood got off to a good start. I don't know what happened to him, but certainly billboard material, and the LIV guys are on the leaderboard here. Yeah. So,
and some of those LIV guys to be, perhaps. And then let's kind of pivot to what the messaging has been. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. The messaging continues to be, and I rewatched the comments on video at the press center from Martin Slumbers, the CEO of the R&A, and I wrote down a bunch of the stuff that he said. So I have the pull quotes and what that was all about. And I mentioned it yesterday about this golf aristocracy, but it was a shame, I thought, that he was taking the tack that he is taking. And I don't want to go over it again today in detail, but that we're sort of the body that runs golf globally, and we want to preserve the tradition of golf. That's not the word he used, but that's should have what he said. He didn't say that, actually. But it came off as sort of the golf aristocracy, I thought. I didn't particularly think it was effective. But why are they saying it? So we got the R&A CEO being fairly harsh and direct. You got Tiger running out for the first time, and he could have said something anytime in the last 2-3 months. Sure. First time Tiger comes on, the Golf Channel guys still beating the drums. It seems like they're slipping in comments all over the place about how nasty LIV is and the dirty money and all that stuff. Why? Why are they carpet bombing, now in the middle of their big tournament?
Well, it's the scorched earth approach. It's their last gasp effort to try to kill the LIV Tour. I think we're leading into a segue about there's going to be a lot more defection. When you're a Colin Morikawa or Jordan Spieth, and you have to deny that you are in negotiations with the LIV Tour, well, obviously you're in negotiations with the LIV Tour. That's why you need to deny it. We weren't born. I was born at night. It just wasn't last night.
If it's true that they're aware, if it's true that the people I just mentioned or the groups, so the R&A, Tiger and his entourage, or what he represents, the senior, the top players on the PGA, the Justin Thomases, the Rory McIlroys of the world, and the Golf Channel, NBC Sports, the CBS, the guys that are fully invested in the current system, including the R&A, if they're all out there beating the drums against the LIV, what does it mean? More guys are defecting. Is it going to be Jordan Spieth? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so on Spieth.
I don't think so.
Part of the echelon that's going to play on the Super Tour. But more guys are going.
Right. And we had talked in previous episodes about how the media, golf, well, first of all, network television is dead. The media is going to get hurt by this. They're going to lose some jobs. They're going to lose their ability to make a living. But I think to get into the players right now that we kind of want to talk about, I see a big rejuvenation, as I just mentioned, in maybe a Bubba Watson, a Jason Day, a Ricky Fowler, guys that aren't in the British Open. I see them defecting. Maybe, like I said, some of these guys, Jason Day and Ricky Fowler especially, are new family men, and it's hard to be on the road 30 weeks a year, 40 weeks a year. So I could see this being a big rejuvenation
and you don't really want
bringing
to be,
some
right?
players
you
back.
You don't really want to be.
Unless you have the Tiger Woods mentality, you really don't want to be away from your family.
Either you're Tiger Woods and you're arrogantly self-centered and could care less about anybody else. Right. That's one way to do it. Or you're Phil Mickelson and you're so successful that you can jet back and forth between your daughter's high school graduation and the U.S. Open at Marion, which he did famously.
Yeah.
And almost won the darn tournament.
Yeah.
Well, good segue into who we think is going to go. I don't know that we've covered. Maybe we covered that a month or two ago. I think we did. Actually, we did, because we talked about Koepka already having hotel reservations at Pumpkin before he announced, which it's probably the most obvious guy ever to want to go to LIV, because he doesn't like the PGA Tour regular events.
Now,
I think well, I don't know. That's a separate show, and I'd like to do a little segment on HGH. I mean, you are a medical doctor. You have a lot to bring to that conversation. And, I no doubt in my mind that Koepka is injured, and he's not playing well for that reason. Maybe there's some other stuff too, but maybe with the money from LIV, he can go get himself healthy. But with all the pumping up and squatting 250 pounds, you're an idiot. You should have called us. He said, Brooks, you're an idiot for doing that. You're going to hurt yourself, which he has done.
Joints and back.
As has DeChambeau.
Right.
And look at Gary Woodland, who I think may have, dabbled.
Yeah.
Because he won the U.S. Open, was hitting it forever, and now his game is in the tank for whatever reason. But a couple of I want to get this.
Yeah, let's get to the
on
players.
Air who we think is going to go, so that our audience can criticize us for being wrong, and hopefully give us a round of applause if we're right. But who do you think? Who's on your short list?
Well, I think I'm going to look at this from a little bit different angle. I love rivalries in sport, and I see the Oklahoma State contingency being more tendency to go, and the Texas contingent not going. So I don't see Scheffler and Spieth going, but I do see Fowler. Obviously, Matt Wolff has gone already. I think a Victor Hovland would be crazy not to go. You got a guy, and then so you have the guys that are, like a Victor Hovland's a great example. He's a very good player, but he doesn't hit it forever, and he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. To win consistently and to win majors, when Jordan Spieth was on his run, nobody's ever putted like that in the history of the game, and obviously
not from 25 feet.
No, and so the point is, the guys that are good players, they're going to struggle to, like Ricky Fowler's a great example. He didn't quite win a major. Sergio Garcia only won one major. It's guys like that have either don't do anything exceptionally well, or have a flaw in their game, like Sergio putting, that really should, take the money, get freed up, and maybe then be more competitive.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. I see
time to work on it, perhaps.
Right. So, those are the guys I see for sure.
In the Open?
He is not.
Okay.
Jason Day is not. Bubba Watson is not. I see those three guys going, especially, Jason Day is another father, who loves his family. And he would love to play 10 times a year and play in the majors if he could ever get back to that level.
Yeah, nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
What do you got to lose, Jason? Ricky, I think, is a foregone conclusion. He's got hotel reservations.
Yeah.
I agree with you on Hovland. Where did he play in college?
I believe he was Oklahoma State.
Is he?
Okay. I think that's the point. I hope I'm right on that, because that could really ruin this segment.
That's all right. We'll forgive you. You don't have to know all things about everything. Aaron Wise, I think, is I got a couple of names here that I agree with that one. I think that cornering Augusta in a nice way, Fred at Augusta, is a good strategy for Greg Norman to continue. I think he's moving his pieces around extremely well. We've given him a lot of compliments here. Let's hope he doesn't make us look stupid. But having a few more Masters champions over on LIV would be exceedingly helpful, I think. Because what are you going to do, Fred? You're going to have a bunch of empty chairs at the champions dinner. How do you uninvite a bunch of guys? It gets to be very uncomfortable. They have 5 winners already on LIV, right? Is that right? Five Masters champions? I think it is. We talked about it before.
Who's the 5th? You got Phil, DJ,
Patrick
Reed, Sergio,
Mickelson. There's 5. It's not.
Willett hasn't left. Willett hasn't left.
But he's
yet,
on my list.
Will.
So that's the point I wanted to make. So I think what Danny Willett. He may already have hotel reservations in Jersey.
Yeah.
For the next LIV event in a couple of weeks. Danny, come on. You're not going to get a $100 million bonus. That's not going to happen. But LIV might throw you 10, 5. They're throwing money around like it's no big deal. They get 5-10 million for Danny Willett, Master Champion's all he's ever done. He's got to be friends with the other Euros that are already on LIV. Poulter sort of the head of that contingency. And along those lines, Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
What's Tommy got to lose? Nothing. He hasn't made a whole bunch of money. So these guys that play, and it ties into a theme of mine. I had one more big name to drop on you. You ready?
Go ahead.
Hideki Matsuyama.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? What's he got to lose? I mean, the Japanese, he's number one sports, I don't know. He's a huge star in Japan, and Japan is a huge golf market.
Now, with that market and the money that he has made in Japan on advertisement, that he may not want to go.
No, he doesn't need the money.
That'll be interesting.
He doesn't need the money. He certainly has talked, right? I mean, why wouldn't he chat with LIV?
And just to quickly interrupt, I forgot the fifth guy was Schwartzel. Great swing. Right. I forgot.
There you go.
Yeah, of course, he won the first LIV event, which really, talk about being freed up. There's a classic example. Charles hasn't been able to hit the ball out of his own shadow. He goes and wins the first LIV event. Talk about somebody who just took a deep sigh and said, oh my gosh, I'm finally fine.
Yeah.
I've traveled all over the world, and now I'm fine.
You got 5 empty chairs. And these are recent winners. These aren't the old guys, right? This is the last 10 years. They have,
Well, like I said, there hasn't been that many winners. You look back, and I just pulled up the list. I mean, and by the way, you've got a Trevor Immelman who doesn't play golf anymore because he can't. And right. I think Angel Cabrera's in jail. So, you go back to 2000, there's not a lot. The majority of the guys, you throw out Tiger, there's not a lot of guys. You got Mike Ware who can't play, who's on the senior tour. But you go back in this century, and they have the majority of the players from the Masters are on the LIV pretty much.
Yeah. There you go.
By the way, once they get Bubba and Adam Scott, they'll have them all. And Danny Willett. Think about it.
Adam Scott's an interesting name. I think he's enjoying his life in Australia. Is that where he's living with his kids and all that?
Well, he was in London for a long time with his kids.
He's I don't know. It seems, I don't know, I haven't studied it. We should, that he's an interesting character from the point of view that he seems to me, from what I've heard and through the tea leaves, is a real family man. He is at home. I mean, he's more than Payne Stewart even, who was a real family man, which is interesting. I have not heard anything from Paul Azinger on LIV, non-zero. Maybe his TV contract prevents him from saying anything, but I haven't heard a thing. And he was buddies with Payne Stewart, made me think of it. So I got Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton. There's a name I wanted to get on the list. Tyrrell Hatton, I think, is good buddies with Ian Poulter. What's he got to lose? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Yeah. So I had 2 concepts. I'll segue into the last thing, which is, sort of this concept that Jay Monahan, who should be fired, those 2 things just go together, has blown, among others, is by creating the PGA Super Tour, which he's done. He's by default created the PGA Minor League Tour. So now you're on the Minor League Tour if you think you can't make it on the Super Tour. And so that to me is an easier way to look about it, to think about it, which is, all right, I'm Jordan Spieth, I'm Justin Thomas, I'm Rory McIlroy, I'm Scotty Scheffler. I'm a Super Tour guy. The Super Tour is made for me. I'm going to make just as much money without the signing bonus, but at least $4 million for winning a tournament as these LIV guys, and I don't have to take all the PR hits, and I can still be popular with the R&A or whatever when I go have a cocktail in some fancy eating club in London with the other members of the golf aristocracy. I'm staying put. But if I'm Victor Hovland, well, I don't know. Can I make it on the PGA Super Tour? Can Patrick Cantlay make it on this PGA Super Tour? I think Cantlay's probably thinking he can, but Hovland's probably thinking he can't. So if you're thinking you can't, Abraham Answer, who already went to LIV, LIV looks really good if they'll have you. You. So this idea that you've created 2 different leagues now, the minor league and the major league, the Super Tour and the regular tour, which is now Minor League Tour, is I think a big problem. We talked about the players now revolting the regular players. And doesn't that bring, here, I'll turn it back over to you. Doesn't that make it more of a bilateral decision for kids coming out of college now that are the top amateurs? Like, which way do I want to go? PGA Super Tour or LIV Super Tour?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to play in the minor leagues.
Right. Nobody wants to play in the minor leagues. So if you're not if you're not a Scotty Scheffler, who, you have to, that's going to be a very difficult decision. And unfortunately, because of those type of decisions, I see the two tours, the PGA Super Tour and the LIV Tour, existing separately for a few years at least. It's going to take something catastrophic to happen to one of the tours. And I, that's the tea leaves that I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do see talks, but no merger for a few years because of what's happened, the rivalries. That's when I talk about the rivalries. The South Africans and the Australians, I think, really hold the key to this. Obviously we have South Africans on LIV right now, but if you get some of those young guys, I think a Garrett Higo. Is it Higo?
Oh, he's the young kid that played in the Open?
The lefty who snuck in and won a PGA event who's got a lot of potential. And
there's some 17-year-old from South Africa that's at the Open that is an amateur who isn't going to make the cut. But they
right. And then you look at
a lot of him.
Gary
Adam Player.
Scotts,
can I just start? Gary
Smiths.
Player has already said positive things about LIV.
Right. And I think that's where do we have two separate tours for a while? I think you're going to.
Well, can we say that again? You make an excellent point. I think we've said it already. Let's say it again right here. The Greg Norman's opportunity here is to really fulfill the vision that he had 30 years ago, which is to make a golf tour that can compete, a golf tour made up of rest of world. So he's got an ROW, as we say in business. He's got a rest of world tour that, when put together, you can compete with North America on an even footing. And isn't that great for the game? Because you know where the game is growing? Ask any golf course architect for the last 20 years, R&A, what's the guy's name? Slumbers, Martin. Where's the game growing? Where are they building golf courses? China, Asia, all those places that, you didn't build them before.
The developed world except for the United States.
Yeah, and there's too many in the United States. And Europe's not expanding at all as far as I could. There's no golf being played in Europe. But Greg's vision was to build this rest of world tour. Well, that is LIV's opportunity. I mean, if you're a young player in anywhere else, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, India, pick a place, Singapore, China, Japan, South Korea. We haven't talked about any of the South Koreans that might go to LIV. There's got to be a few that would do that. And golf is huge in South Korea, and that's a big market. That's a country with 90 million people in it. Of course, I mean, that's LIV's opportunity, right? So LIV will be rest of world, including Europe. And then you have North America. The best players will be on the Super Tour. And now you have a pretty cool, global, almost like soccer environment where, the best guys are competing against each other on an even footing. What do you think of that?
I think I think you're right. I think the main issue there, as we discussed in the previous show, is, Greg Norman's ideas were spot on. That's why the PGA copied what he wanted to do in 1990s and made the World Golf Tour events, and now they've copied him with the Super Tour. I think one thing that I think is going to be a little bit of a problem for LIV is, can they merge with, say, the Australasian Tour? How can they merge in their present format? Obviously, the DP/European Tour and PGA Tours have merged quickly, so that's going to be interesting.
It's a work in progress.
See what happens.
Right? Do they need a feeder tour? Do they need? I mean, it's a minor league tour. Do they need a Corn Ferry equivalent for LIV? Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm sure Greg's thinking about it. It's not time to talk about it probably, but
do they expand the field if the World Golf Organization balks at giving them points?
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
do they expand to 72 holes? I don't know.
I think they kind of have to, because I think they got too many people knocking on the door. It's like, well, we built this cool little bar, and we thought it might do okay, and it's going gangbusters. Everybody in the whole world's lined up around the block to get in here. How can they only have 48 guys in the field? I mean, they gotta, and maybe that's already in Greg's thinking. Who knows? I mean, he seems to be 3 steps ahead of everybody.
Well, I think when they go to 14 next year, do you have the top guys only have to play in 10 of the 14, something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to happen. They're going to have enough guys to do that.
They're going to have enough guys to do that. And that is the one thing that has been very frustrating with golf in general. Besides the network coverage is horrendous. The half the tournaments, nobody's there. There's no ratings. There's nobody there at these minor tournaments.
Let's put a dot on that and say the LIV Tour is going to evolve. And let's do another show about how that's going to happen, because that would be really interesting to talk about how it's going to evolve, because it's not going anywhere. And a point that I'll make next time around when we get to that topic is, what about all these great golf clubs, golf courses and clubs that have been totally forgotten now in the new PGA Tour view of the world with this wraparound season and everything?
Well, they turned golf into a winter sport.
Not the fancy clubs in New York City, like Winged Foot. No, I'm not talking about that. Like the Oak Hills of the world, the Detroit clubs, the Rochester, New York clubs, the clubs that aren't going to get any action anymore. Firestone, sort of. There's so many of those. There's probably a dozen clubs that would probably welcome a LIV event.
Yeah. I wish like I said, I think I said this before, Firestone needs to get rid of the seniors and get a LIV event.
Let's get real. If Greg Norman called up Club Corp tomorrow and said, hey, we'd like to stage a tournament at Firestone, what do you think?
That'd be crazy not to.
I mean, Club Corp is all about the bottom line. Come on.
Yeah, they're for the money. It's all about
how much money is that, Greg? Oh, I don't know, $5 million. How's that sound? Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. When do you want it?
I think in a long ago episode I mentioned, you really, middle of May, you can't really have the South Course really ready for the PGA Championship if they ever. And how ridiculous is it now they're having a rotation of the PGA and the U.S. Open? Really? Like there's not going to be any good clubs?
To my point that I just made, it seems to me that the current PGA Tour leadership and I guess vision is to forget the clubs like Firestone.
Yeah.
Which is, maybe they're right. I don't think so. But what it does is it leaves the door wide open for LIV. I mean, we've said that. You said that. Yeah. That the Greg and LIV, I mean, the PGA Tour has been ripe for the plucking. They're doing so many things wrong that anybody coming in can be doing it correctly. But it's a minor, it's a smaller point. But, you know what? It makes my point, sort of. Doral, Blue Monster is a fabulous golf course.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, and here they are. LIV is going to go play there. Totally forgotten for political reasons. Can't golf just get above politics? I mean, true politics. I mean, so what if Trump owns Doral? Who cares? Let's go play golf. It's a great golf course with a great tradition. In a good spot.
Let me make my last comment here, and then we need to wrap.
It takes us a while to wrap a show.
It does take us a while to wrap. The PGA are the ones acting like the child. They're not, the R&A not inviting Greg Norman to St. Andrews. And
Greg. And Phil.
And Phil.
Both guys banned, essentially, from the celebration.
Well, of course, and then they got rid of the tournament at Doral because of Donald Trump. Now, by the way, your average PGA fan, you think they voted for Trump or for Biden? And we're not going to be political here.
They lean.
Yeah. Well, think about it. It's a joke.
Politics aside, this is a show about logical conclusions. Of course, the demographic of the actual people that turn on the TV and watch a PGA Tour golf event, are leaning in the Republican registration, politically registered that way. Of course they are.
And my point to this is where these.
That's all for this video. For Dr. Darkstar and me, thanks for watching. This is a show about finding logical conclusions, and we appreciate you coming along with us. We'll be adding episodes as fast as we can. There's certainly no shortage of things going on in this world.